In this video, I'm going to be talking all about what to do when you bring home your first kitten. Meet Minty. Isn't she the little cutest? It can be an exciting time, but there's plenty of things you've got to think about before you actually bring home a little one like this. So in this video, I'm going to go through all those things that you need to prepare for, from health considerations, food, the environment, and the setup. So listen on up and make sure you check the description, because I've got some good freebies for you guys to download that will help you on your way to caring for your little kittens just great. All right, let's get right to it. So before you even consider bringing your little kitty cat home, you need to kitten proof or cat proof your house. Now, the best way to do that is to actually get down on all fours. So yes, right down low so that you can check out at their level what they can see. Now remember, there's lots of plants that are toxic to cats, so make sure that you're removing anything like that. Again, I've got a list and I've got a video, I'll put that up above. Make sure that you are removing any cords, especially electrical cords. They love to chew on those sorts of things. Make sure you get rid of all the hair ties, the yarn, the string, anything that they could potentially swallow, and you'll be amazed the number of surgeries I've had to perform getting hair ties out of a little kitty. And adult cats, go figure. So first step is to cat proof your home. The next thing we're going to talk about is nutrition. How much are we going to feed, or what are we going to feed, and how often are we going to feed? Those are really common questions we get. So when you bring home your new kitten, it's generally going to be about 8 weeks old. From this age, you just need to feed a little bit and feed them often. So I would say about 4 times a day up until they're about 12 weeks old. Once they're about 12 weeks old, you can extend the period between feeds. So you might extend it out to so that you can feed them 3 times a day. So morning, sort of mid-afternoon, lunch and evening feeds. We now recommend not to free choice feed our cats. That's because a lot of cats don't have an off button, and they really don't tend to get enough exercise to help keep their weight in check. All right, what should we be feeding? It's really important that you feed a specially formulated kitten food. This is because kittens require a lot more protein, calcium and phosphorus for their bone development, and a few vitamins and minerals that are just a little bit different to our older cats. So make sure when you're checking out the food brands at the supermarket or the pet store, you're looking for a kitten brand food. You can also introduce them to lots of different types of food. So you might give them a little bit of chicken or fish or a little bit of meat, and they can chew on the odd lamb chop like I've got in this video. You can see Minty having a great go. It is super important that you feed a proper formulated diet as their main diet, but adding on a little bit of variety can actually help your cat not become too fussy. And this can be really helpful, especially if they're sick. They might have a special food that they love, and you can tempt them with that when they're not feeling too well. Now, how much should you feed your kitten? If you're feeding a commercial pet food, there will be guidelines on the back, so make sure you follow those. But again, I always like to say, make sure that you're keeping a regular check of their, if you can feel their ribs, and if you can see a little bit of a waist from above. If you can't feel their ribs and they're starting to get pretty porky, then it's time to back up on the amount of food you're feeding. Now, what are some of the things that your cats might need in the house? Well, the first thing is the litter tray. Now, not all kitty cats are going to necessarily be toilet trained when they come to your house. Hopefully they are, but like this one, we've still got a little bit of learning to do. So what we recommend is that you keep them in an area where when you can't watch them, you know that they're not going to get into too much trouble soiling your carpet and property. As far as litter trays go, cats love a clean litter tray, and it's best to have one more litter tray than you've got cats. So if you've got one cat, that means that you have 2 litter trays, and if you've got 2 cats, you have 3 litter trays. It goes on. When you're starting to toilet train, keep your cat or your kitten in a small little room until you know that you can trust them to use that litter tray. The idea is that they get used to going in that tray and they know where it is so they can find it. So increase the size that they're allowed out and about as they get better at finding that litter tray. I don't know if you can hear. Can you hear the purring? He's got a big motor. Another thing that cats love and should have in your house is a scratching post. Scratching is a natural thing that cats love to do. They love to scratch horizontally as well as vertically. So make sure you've got 2 types of scratching post. And not only will this help your cat as far as enrichment goes, but it's going to save your furniture. Because remember, declawing cats is cruel. We avoid that at all costs. It's something that we just do not recommend anymore, and in many countries it's actually outlawed. The best things to use for a scratching post are bits of cardboard, and you can buy sisal rope and make your own scratching post. Check out Pinterest because that has lots of great ideas of things that you can make at home, and of course you can always go and buy the scratching posts from the store. So if you've got other pets in your home and you're bringing in a new kitten, it's super important to gradually introduce them. Don't rush things. What I always recommend is that you keep them separated, and you might keep the little kitten behind either a baby gate or perhaps in a little crate, and so that the other cats or dogs or whatever you've got in the home can't actually get to them. Remember, you're upsetting the social hierarchy, so take things slow. And as far as other cats go, some cats just will never be great mates, and that's okay. We shouldn't expect them to be. Sometimes it's just good that they exist together. The key is that all visits need to be supervised in the very beginning. Don't force the issue, take it slow. And let them meet on their own grounds and their own terms. One thing that I always recommend is that you get these guys used to a little harness, especially if you're going to be keeping your cat inside. It's lovely to be able to get them outside for some fresh air and some sunshine. And to get them used to a harness, it's good to do this when they're really small because it's a lot easier. That way you can take them outside, the visits are controlled, and they are so much safer than letting them go outside on their own. I probably should have started with this considering that I'm a vet, but one of the most important things that you can do in the beginning is to go and have a vet visit. Now in the early days there'll be a few of these. What we tend to do is we check the kitten all over, making sure that they're healthy. We then also vaccinate against all those infectious diseases that are quite prevalent in our cat communities and that can kill them, like they're really nasty diseases. And we also ensure that we give them parasite control and also make sure that they're on track with their diet and that you're feeding them appropriately. So one thing that is super important is parasite control, and with young kittens they often have a lot of parasites. This is nothing that you've done wrong, they're often born with them. So it's important that you give a wormer frequently. So up until the age of about 12 weeks, we actually worm every 2 weeks with a wormer that's going to get roundworms and hookworms. From 12 weeks to about 6 months, we can spread that out to monthly wormer, and we include a product that covers tapeworms. And after 6 months of age, generally speaking, we can worm our pets every 3 months. Deciding on how often we need to worm our kittens is a little bit related to whether they're going to be an inside only cat or an outside only cat. It also depends on what we feed. So if they're fed a raw diet of any sort, then you're going to have to deworm more frequently. And on the note about health visits, consider health insurance. It's incredibly sad to think that we might have to put your pet to sleep if you can't afford to pay for their treatments. Cat insurance doesn't tend to be nearly as expensive as dog insurance, so make sure you check out some funds and just see how much it is going to cost you. Don't know where she's going. Also, talking about health, it's incredibly important to spay or neuter your kitten. Generally speaking, we do this around the 5 to 6 months of age time, although some rescues, they will do this before your kitten goes home, and some of them will spay quite early. If they're really little, we usually wait until they're a kg in weight before we actually do that. Now, it's important that we do spay and neuter. If we don't neuter our cats, then they tend to spray furniture, marking their territory, and which can make a bit of a mess in our homes. And of course, spaying cats will come into season incredibly often. It's really annoying for everybody because they meow a lot. And not to mention, they actually are very prone to mammary cancer and to getting pyometras, which are a medical emergency. I'll put some links below with some more information about that. Another thing to consider is grooming your pet. When they're little like this, it's a great time to get them used to not only clipping all their nails, so getting their nails nice and clipped and handling those, and also grooming their body. So if they're a longer head cat, you're going to have to get them really used to that, because you want to get right down deep into that lower deep coat, undercoat, and pull that out. Not only does it help prevent matting, but it can also decrease the incidence of fur balls, which can be a bit of a pain finding those everywhere. Now, I recommend that you always try to keep your cats indoors. It is so much safer for them. Not only are they less at risk of infectious disease from other cats, but there's no risk of them getting run over by a car, being attacked by other cats or dogs even. And their lifespan does increase a lot if you do keep them inside. So I always recommend that. But if you are considering that letting your cat go out and about into the outside world, then don't forget that if you live in a place that has ticks, particularly the paralysis tick, that you make sure that you protect them against these. There's nothing worse than your cat getting a tick and succumbing to one of these. So there's plenty of preventative products available, and I'll pop a link above and below that talks about some of the different products that you can purchase for that. So to recap, what are the things that we've got to think about? We've got to think about their food. We've got to think, get some bowls for them so that they can eat off that. Now, I recommend stainless steel or ceramic bowls. Quite a few cats get allergies. Using those types of bowls lessens the risk of that. You need litter tray. You need litter material. Where are you going? You need litter material to go in the litter tray. You need a carrier. Don't forget a carrier, because not only are you going to need a carrier to go and pick up your kitten, you're going to need a carrier to go and take your cat to the vet. So make sure you get a carrier. Make sure you get one that's of decent size that can fit your cat when they're an adult. You're going to need a cat tower, so a scratching post that will help. You're going to need toys. So try and use toys that they're not going to eat and pick up anything. That would be disastrous. I probably wouldn't buy a bed. Cats, remember, are not inclined to sleep where you want them to sleep. They tend to go where they want to. So a bed might not be something that they will use very often. But having a little crate is always a nice idea, because then you can know that you can put them in there, they're safe, especially when you're not watching, or if you don't have an area in your home where you can keep them locked away if you need to. And treats, cats love treats, but remember, not too many treats, because you don't want them to get fat. But treats are great, especially if you want to reinforce some behaviors. So when you're teaching them how to clip their nails, maybe when you're going to teach them some tricks. Just remember, cats will go and play fetch. They can learn tricks like high five, do all that sort of stuff. So pretty cool to have some treats on board. All right then, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little chat. Minty and I are going to go and have some playtime. We'll catch you later. Bye. Say bye, Minty. Say bye to everybody.